Star Wars The Heart of the Jedi by Kenneth C. Flint. Chapter 26. The Millennium Falcon picked its way carefully through the wide scattered field of blasted ships and drifting debris. Luke certainly didn't do this, said Leia, still at the Falcon's controls. No, said Han from the co-pilot's seat. He was consulting their sensor readouts on the Rex. This whole bunch couldn't have been much of a threat. From the scans, I'd say most of them were pretty small ships. Whatever did this had him way outgunned. In the seat behind him, Chewie gave a sharp bark and pointed out the window on the right. What's that, Chewie? Han said, peering out. Oh, yeah. There's something a little bigger over there. Leia, go that way, but be careful. She skillfully guided the ship through the obstacle course of debris, closing in on the spot. As they drew close, they could see that it was a large, blossom-shaped craft, with a clear dome at its center. Two of the petal-like outer sections had been badly damaged. Several others were cracked or had fragments torn away. Around this wounded craft clustered a few score of others, small, brightly painted ships, looking most forlorn now. They were the only survivors of the once huge refugee fleet. At the approach of the Falcon, many of these fled abruptly like startled fish. A few boldly stood by the larger ship. Who are you? A suspicious man's voice snapped from the communications speaker. Take it easy there, Han replied. We're friends. What the hell happened to you? We're hit by a Imperial Star Destroyer, the voice said. Star Destroyer? Han said, glancing an alarmed glance with Leia. Exchanging an alarmed glance with Leia. They attacked us for no reason, the angry voice went on. We're harmless. Thought there was an armistice. Sorry, pal, said Han regretfully. Not today, but who are you and why are you way out here? Came here to escape the war, the man replied, giving a short laugh of irony. Funny, huh? My name is Storm. The speaker was now in the bioship's main dome, responding to Han's voice over the comm system as he looked out towards the hovering Falcon. At the same time, he was kneeling beside the form of the sky pilot. The elderly man, seemingly asleep, lay with his hand cradled in Aislin's lap. A few other survivors of the group stood watching or tended to fellow beings hurt in the attack. The bodies of several more had been placed in a neat row. Most of the damage here had been done by the violent spinning the bioship had gone through. Much had been torn loose and hurled away. Two of the large center trees were canted over sharply. A third had been cast down. And damage to the integrity of the big ship itself was made evident by the ominous creaks and groaning of its stressed structural members. Look, Storm, we'd like to help you, came Han's voice. But we've kinda got an urgent job of our own. Maybe even more urgent now. The Star Destroyer, you don't know where it was headed, do you? Our leader thinks it was following someone named Luke. That's what I was afraid of. See, this Luke, he's our friend. We came here to help him. You know where he's gone? No, said Storm. He came, and he left. No idea where he went. Storm? Called a weak voice. He looked down to see the sky pilot was awake, though very weak. The older man's skin was pale and his breath rasped in his throat. Rest, Storm advised. You're pretty broken up inside. It doesn't matter now, the man gasped out. They are friends of the Jedi. They must be helped. We can't help them, said Storm. We've got to see to you. Repair the bioship. Save what ecosystem we still can. The sky pilot shook his head. No, he said in a faltering but still firm voice. Not important now. The whole galaxy is at stake. All life must help. His body went suddenly limp, his head falling back on Aislin's lap. She bowed her head over him and wept. Storm gently folded the dead leader's hands upon his chest. Then he arose, speaking out resolutely to Han. Luke headed to a planet strong in the Force. It is not far from here. If you mean to save your friend, we will help you. And that floating pinwheel? Han's voice replied skeptically. Sorry, friend, you're unarmed and pretty damaged. Best thing for you is just to save yourselves. Good luck. We're all gonna need it. With that, the Millennium Falcon moved ahead, sweeping around the bioship and heading on in the sector. Storm watched it vanish from sight. Then he looked down to Aislinn. You and the rest have to go evacuate. She turned her tear-streaked face up to him. What about you? His face hardened in grim resolution. I'm going after them. Almost there? Asked Luke, coming back onto the Entrepreneur's Bridge with R2-D2 behind him. Any minute, Ewok replied. Get any more sleep this time? No, I'm too keyed up, said Luke, shaking his head in a troubled way. I just can't forget that strange, sharp feeling I had a few hours ago. It was like voices screaming out to me. Something was grabbing and shaking my brain. That sudden sense of dread, it's still with me. A nightmare, most likely, Dad said dismissingly. Your mind plagued tricks. It's natural, the whole thing's getting to you. Maybe, Luke said, still with some uncertainty. I have been feeling the Force so strongly. I suppose its power could be confusing things. Especially now, said the Ewok, pointing ahead. We're here. Salvage Scow was just sailing in a wide curve, past a smallish yellow sun and swinging in toward a single planet that hung in space beyond it. From a nondescript grayish pebble, it swiftly grew and resolved to what looked like a gleaming marble of blue swirled across with white. As they came yet closer, the true nature of the planet could be seen. Angorothea, Luke breathed in awe, all other concerns forgotten. At last. Looks to me like you might just have a bit of trouble landing there, mate, was Captain Thatch's more practical comment. For Angorothea appeared to be a water planet. Nearly all of the world's surface was covered by a single great sea of deep blue-green. It was a smooth and clean sparkling surface, save for the lines of moving white clouds and the grayer bands of storm fronts marked it in swirling abstract designs. At first, those observing from the approaching salvage scows saw no signs of land. But as the vessel swept in and around the globe, one small patch of brown and green came into view. There's something, declared Luke excitedly. Put her into orbit above that. The Ewok readily obeyed, and soon the square craft was drifting high above the single spot, as the two scrutinized it carefully with both eyes and instruments. The area below was an island of nearly circular shape. Indeed, it was so close to a perfect circle that it seemed unlikely for nature alone to have been the creator. It appeared to be constructed mostly of rock, thrusting up, for a uniform height above sea level, completely flat on top. There was no vegetation visible except for a ragged fringe of green around the shoreline. But the unusual appearance of the land was eclipsed by the construction which sat upon it. It looked to be part of a massive fortress and part maze. A thick outer rampart rose 100 feet high and formed a ring miles around. Within the space enclosed were several other concentric bands of wall, each of these broken at irregular intervals around its circumference by openings, which created a vast labyrinth around a single central feature. From high overhead, that feature appeared a quite primitive artifact. Its construction was simple. 4 huge, flat slabs of stone had been upended, with another larger one laid on top as a roof. Surrounding this structure and forming the innermost ring of the entire complex was a circle of 12 tall and monolithic stones. Just like the Sky Pilot's ring, Luke murmured to himself as he looked at this. Must have sensed the shape. Heart must be there. Heart? Said Thatch. That's the name of the place where I'm supposed to go, he said vaguely, still preserving the secret of the heart's power. It's got to be down there. Well, it's safe enough for you to go there, planet-wise, said Thatch, consulting his instruments. Breathable atmosphere, nothing poisonous in the water, not even any dangerous beasts or plants. Only sea life, as far as I can tell. He peered down again at the huge structure. Wonder what became of the ones who built that thing. I have a feeling they never lived here, said Luke. Well, I may as well go down. Behind him, R2-D2 squeaked and whistled to get his attention. What, R2? He said. No, I don't want you to go. I don't want you to get hurt. At this, the little droid tootled and bleeped adamantly. There was no mistaking its ire. Now, what do you say then? Asked the Ewok. And if I'm going to be killed, then he's going to get killed too. He is coming along this time, and I can't stop him. Remarkably strong streak of stubbornness for a machine, Thatch observed. Yes, and a friendship too. I guess he's earned the right to have his way. He patted the droid. Okay, R2, you come along. And thanks. Within minutes afterwards, the Scout's shuttle was sailing down towards the planet, this time with the droid beside Luke as he piloted them in. Seems to be one beach-like area, Luke noted as they dropped closer to the island. Down over there on the south side. It's the only place that looks different. Look, I think there are ships parked there. Better check that first. He spiraled the shuttle in and brought it to a gentle touchdown, just above the sands of a wide beach. He and R2 went out of the craft and stood looking around. They looked inland first. Some 200 yards across a stretch of the brownish rock loomed the high curved and outer wall of the structure. From where they were, it seemed to be unbroken. Between it and the beach were scattered half a dozen other small spacecraft. From the heavy weathering effects on their outer hulls, they were clearly long abandoned. Must be the ships of the other ones the pilot told us about, he said. He turned to look at the beach. It was both wide and deep, sloping gradually down to the lapping waves. Its pink-white sands were very fine, and absolutely pristine. No speck of refuse, no smear of oil, not even a footprint marred it. Oh, I'll sure bet there's no civilized world with a beach this clean, he said. Hatch was right. Nobody could be living here, R2. A sudden high chattering sort of sound caught his attention. His eyes went to its source. Something had broken surface of the waves just off the shore, and appeared to be some kind of head. The head jerked rapidly up and down, and he heard more chattering, though it was only unintelligible noise. Luke found the sense of it sounding in his head like spoken words. Welcome to Angorithea, came clearly to him in his soft, polite, cultivated tones. I understand you, Luke said aloud to the head. More clattering came from it. Of course you can. The power field here allows for that, but only for ones such as you. Luke strode down the beach to the water's edge. He looked curiously out at the creature. He could see from there that the head was smooth and rounded, covered in shiny gray-blue skin. Tiny dark eyes showed on each side of a long, blunt snout. A lipless mouth beneath it stretched back and up in what seemed a grin, showing him rows of small teeth. It spoke again. It has been long since anyone has come here, Kurd. You have the Force strong in you. Who are you? He asked. See, it said. Suddenly it vanished, but a moment later reappeared, shooting up full from the water in a spectacular leap. A sleek, fish-like body glinted in the sun. Luke glimpsed the broad tail, side flippers, and top dorsal fin which were its propulsion. Then it splashed back into the waves. I and my kind are the sole intelligent denizens of this world, it explained after its head surfaced again. We have been here since its creation. We have grown with it, affected by the power focused here. The Force is part of us now. We are part of it. Did you build that? Luke asked, waving back towards the structure. The Temple of the Heart? No. It was the first of the Jedi who did that long ago. We build nothing, or do we need to? We live at one with the sea. It supplies all our needs. We have no interest in the land. But you know why I'm here, he said. Of course. You seek the heart for answers, as so many others have before you. Can you tell me how the others got in? Only your own heart can open the doorway for you. If that heart is enough attuned to the one which beats within the ring, you will win your way inside. Not. If I fail, finished. Do you know what happens to those who fail? No, they come. Some we talk to, they go to the temple. Some even manage to get inside. We have observed that the portal remains open after they enter. We believe that it stays so for long as they stay alive. Sometimes it closes soon after they go in. Sometimes it takes days. The door always closes eventually, leaving them inside. What about those who succeed? Luke asked. I mean, does anyone ever come back out? Once there were many of those who entered and returned, those with the Force strong in them, but such have not visited in many years. Only those who have failed. Their craft from space litter the shore, as you see. There was a war, Luke explained. Most of the Jedi are dead. Yes, that we have been told. Luke contemplated the temple and the abandoned ships again, then looked back to the creature. I don't suppose you can tell me why it is they don't just fly in there. That I do know. As it was created, the temple's great energies create a shield above it that no mortal power can penetrate. There is but one way in, Only a true Jedi will find it. I guess it's my turn to try, he said. Thank you for your help. I will wait and hope for your success, it replied. Luke walked back up to the beach, to the rocky ground where the droid waited. On, R2, he told it, and marched determinedly towards the temple, the droid rolling behind. He reached the high, blank wall. He ran a hand across the stone. It seemed somehow to be composed of a single, unbroken piece. No faintest crack, no hidden hinge, no tiniest mark of any kind hinted at a door. First problem, R2, said Luke. How do we get in there? The chattering of the sea creature, sharp and urgent this time, arose behind him. He looked around to see that it was leaping high out of the water, as if to attract him. Then it suddenly darted away, diving beneath the waves and vanishing completely. In the place where it had been, something peculiar was happening. Bubbles rose to the surface, in swiftly growing quantities, until they roiled to a white froth. Then something broke through the water, rising upward into view as the waves fell away on all sides. The object lifted 30 feet of its form clear of the sea to reveal a vast, rounded bag, like that of a mechanized turtle with an armored shell of metal plates. From its front end protruded a broad, head-like section, squared off and angular. Twin barrels of a turbo laser turret protruded from the top of its flat skull. The bulging eyes on the head sides were the windows of the machine's control compartment. Figures could be seen behind them, peering out. They wore black uniforms and helmets. An Imperial swimmer, gasped Luke. He looked to his ship. It was now closer to the heavily armed Imperial monster than to him. He looked left and right, checking desperately for another avenue escape. From round the curve of the wall on either side charged a squad of stormtroopers to surround him, their blasters at the ready. All right, rebel, one snarled. Drop the weapons. No tricks, or you'll be shredded. Luke looked around the bristling wall of guns defiantly and crouched, fingers near his weapons as if ready to fight. But the impossibility of success against such odds decided him otherwise. With a sigh of resignation, he straightened, slowly loosened his belt, and let it fall. Another trooper scripped it up. Now, said the first one, prodding Luke roughly with the butt of his own rifle. Down to the shore. Men close behind him and at the sides. Luke was herded down across the sand to the water's edge. He was halted there. The modified, submersible AT-AT Luke had called a swimmer sat just offshore, his broad head hanging close above the surface. Luke gazed up toward it, his expression one of curiosity over what was to happen now. He hadn't long to wait. A hatch on the head's top cracked and swung open wide. A figure emerged, climbing up to stand on a small platform high atop the crown. It was a tall man of haughty demeanor, clad in an officer's uniform. He stared down at the helpless figure of Luke with a grin of supercilious triumph. Well, Jedi, he made the words sound like something obscene. So, we have found you at last. Who are you? He demanded. My name is High Admiral Tharkus, he supplied. And just what are you doing, High Admiral? Asked Luke. There was supposed to be a truce. Tharkus gave a condescending laugh. Poor boy. I'm afraid that little hope of yours has been doomed by me. And, once I've finished here, the Alliance will be finished as well. Of course, for that we should thank you. After all, you led us to this place. Led? Luke repeated in disbelief. No, that's impossible. You couldn't have followed me. How naive you are, Tharkus said, shaking his head. Of course we could, with a little bit of help. He gestured down at the open hatch. The second figure emerged, its furry ears and broad head appearing first, then the chubby bear-like form as it clambered up onto the hatch. Hatch? Luke said in shock. The Ewok spread its arms. Instantly, an azure glow rose around it, obscuring its squat shape as a bright cocoon of absorbed energy. Within the light, the shadowy form grew elastic, stretching taller, growing thin. Seconds later, the light was fading. A scrawny humanoid of translucent flesh and blue-white coloring now stood there. He smiled down at Luke. My real name is Pollux, the being said.